What's up, everybody? I'm sitting here in front of a green screen that you can't see the green screen, but our group is actually not having youth this week. We are taking a bunch of youth to an amusement park as kind of some summer fun for our group to have a little time, and we're doing a serving thing this weekend. But I wasn't going to give a lesson this week. Just going to kind of, summer is what summer is, right? You just kind of hit and miss on things because you got other things going. But I really had something sit on my heart a couple weeks ago. I was sitting when one of our youth asked to have a little chat with me, and as she was talking, I could feel myself getting a little, verklempt, a little bit misty-eyed. And the reason I was getting misty-eyed is because it was like my younger self speaking into a tape recorder and saying exactly the same things that she was saying about her life today. We kind of get into this thing where adults do adult things, youth do youth things, and the adults are telling you, I've been through all this before, let me tell you. Well, this was one of those moments where I go, man, that's true. I truly understood. Our youth group, really, we have come to a point in our relationships with each other in our youth group where they feel comfortable speaking to not just their friends, but also to the leaders. And it's really a great thing when the youth gets to that point. And this youth was opening up about some struggles she was having. And I kind of wanted to not talk about her issues, but I wanted to talk about mine and how I kind of got over that stuff as I grew up. When I was younger, I was ADHD, and I've said this many times to you in my lessons and talked about it. I was bad. I mean, I was one of those that my brain just never shut off. I was always fidgeting. I was always active. My brain wanted to find things to do. I was not one that wanted to sit in a chair. That was living torture for me, and I really struggled with it mightily growing up. And there was some teachers who kind of understood it, and actually back in the day they didn't call them fidget toys, but I had teachers who actually would give me things like coloring sheets or something, a puzzle book or something like that, while she was teaching the class, because she understood that my mind stayed occupied with what she was doing by my body being occupied by other things. So I'll give you an example now to help me concentrate and my brain doesn't kind of go in 50,000 different directions. When I'm writing a lesson, I turn music on. And listen, everybody in the church here that knows I'm a rock and roller, and I don't listen to my music very softly. So the church has got to listen to what I'm listening to usually half the time. But that's just how my brain works. But I want to tell you a story. When I first got into ministry and I first started feeling the call of where Jesus was leading me, and I've talked about how that struggle was, right? But when I got into the position of working with kids and working with youth, I had this struggle of my ADHD. Whenever something was stressful or when everything was really exciting, my ADHD takes over, and my tics that I have really pop out. I'm fidgeting, I'm bouncing, I'm really rocking. I can't stand still. I can't look people in the eye for a very long time. When I have conversation with people, when I look at you, my brain, and if I'm staring you in the eye, which I think is what you should do, my brain can't focus on what you're saying. My brain is like going, man, I wonder what that thing is on his forehead. What is that thing in his eye? Man, he's got some really cool eyes. I wish I had eyes like, my brain works like that. And for me to hear, I constantly have to have what I call distractions, changing my visual to kind of boot my brain constantly. Well, when I got into ministry, I tried to hide my ADHD, which is probably next to impossible for somebody with my type of ADHD to hide it. I mean, it's visible. Most people who see me know that there's something, he's keyed up all the time is kind of maybe what they might be thinking. But when you kind of tell them, yeah, I've got ADHD, oh yeah, that explains everything, right? So I really struggled with trying to hide my ADHD because, and I'll be honest, I thought people would kind of look down on me for it because it's like this image I had in my brain. And I didn't grow up in a church, right? I had this image that the pastor was this prim and proper dude, and he just was cool about everything and was chill and relaxed. And man, that just wasn't me. I'm never chill or relaxed about anything. I'm always movement, always going. And like I said, I can't look you in the eye. And it was, to me, in my brain, it was like everything that a pastor is not is how I am. And when I was given a youth group, I wasn't given a youth group by going to school. I wasn't given a youth group because I had worked in youth group for years and years and years. I came upon a youth group because my kids played soccer. Somebody thought I could do it, and our youth pastor had walked. And they were like needing a youth pastor, and they go, John, you're good for the job. There you go. And that's how I got the job. So when I came in, I didn't know a thing. Didn't know nothing, right? And I purposely tried to hide the fact that I really didn't know what I was doing when I was teaching. I was kind of like hiding my ADHD. I came in, I truly believe God blessed me in this moment. I was given 2 young ladies who were freshmen, and we were at a small church, and that was the size of my youth group. And I started the first night with them. I sat in front of them. I opened the Bible. I start reading the Bible like I'm going to be Billy Graham. I'm going to bring these girls to Jesus, and I'm going to do it, taking them through Romans Road. And when I sat there, started reading the Bible, I glanced up and I saw just eyes rolled in the back of their head. And I saw just absolute boredom. And I realized I'm not Billy Graham. I am not that type of person or teacher or anything like that. So what I started to do was adapt who I was. I started to adapt my humor. I have a little bit of a sense of humor. You might not think so watching this, but I think I'm the funniest guy I know. So I kind of just use humor. I am a guy who doesn't see in a straight line. I see every little nook and cranny, and I'm a true outside of the box thinker, abstract thinker. And so when I see the Bible, I see how it correlates with everything I see, say, do, hear. So I'm trying to impress how I see the world, and then how I see the Bible is relevant in how I see it. And I tell the kids, the youth that I teach, that this is my style, this is what I'm trying to connect you to, and they understand that. But still, when I started doing that, I still hid my hyperactivity. I still tried to be something absolutely that I was not. I struggled. I was trying to, when I would get hyped up, I'm literally trying to hold myself still. And the more I would sit still, the more my brain almost goes into this panic. And I'll give you an example of that. My wife one time told me that watching me preach is like watching an aerobics instructor. It's just, you feel like you got to get into motion. And that's how I preach. So I was real cognizant of this one time when I was going up. I don't even think I was preaching. I think I was just giving announcements on what was happening, what was going on, and talking a little bit about what was going on in the youth group. And so I get up there, and I was supposed to lead the prayer, right? So I get up there, and all I could think about is I'm not going to sit there and do jazzercise for all the people watching me. So I grab the podium. I'm hanging onto the podium, And I go, "Dear Jesus." And from that moment on, my mind went totally blank. I couldn't think of anything to come out to pray about, right? And so what I did is I let go of the podium. I stepped back. I stepped back up, and I started aerobicizing and praying. And prayer came out normal. And I realized in that moment that I'm not being true to myself, but I'm not being true to myself, I'm not being true to who God made me. And that's kind of what I want to tell you. We all have these things that are going on in our world, going on in our life. And we kind of may say this is something that people may look down upon us for. My ADHD, my jazzercising when I talk. I was so cognizant of it in my brain that when I would think about it, it would almost bring me to a full stop. And I wasn't being the person that God designed me to be. And it's funny, when I started thinking on this, I'm actually teaching our kids on creation. And I love how God created the world, right? God created everything that we see, we touch, we hear. And it's amazing to me that we get into this precept of how God made man, right? God made us all perfect, and there's no one like you. When he made you, he broke the mold. And we think it on that level, but for 6 days, God made things, right? For 6 days, God kept creating and creating. And one of the wildest ones I think that blows my mind is God created plants, trees, grass, flowers, weeds, all that stuff, right? He created that before he created celestial bodies. And one of those celestial bodies, the sun. What do plants need to survive? It's not just light. They need UV style light. They need sunshine. And when I read that, that's mind-blowing to me, that God can create something that needs survival without the thing it needs to survive. So that tells me that God is the light in our lives that sustains us for survival. And we know that Jesus is the light of the world. Jesus is the one who saves us. We're sent here as sinners. Christ died for our sins, so we've got to eliminate that. This is like the before. It's mind-blowing, right? But I get to thinking about how he created us, and there's no one like us. But have you ever thought that everything God created, like stars in the sky, he placed them right where he wanted them? And there's no star like the other, no planet like the other. The sun is different from other suns out there. The moon is not the same as other moons that are orbiting planets. A blade of grass is not the same as the blade of grass next to it. The way it's designed and the way it is. When we see like a weed of a dandelion and it's got the little stem with the bulb of furriness on it, and we walk up and we decide we're going to blow it, every seed is different. Every direction it goes is different. Everyone is different. And that's how God made us. He didn't make us to be these like little robots lined up, boom, 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 all the same, doing the same thing, thinking the same thing. And I think that also goes to how we relate to God and how we teach God. There are people, straight theologians, I truly respect them, right? I love going deep into theology and just hearing, especially guys who are historians of the church. I love the history, and I love hearing that stuff, man. It just holds me in. But to teach a class like that, and you come to me, I am the wrong dude, right? I am not wired that way. I'm wired differently. I'm more wired as a coach. And when somebody asks me, describe yourself and how you would see your ministry, I tell everybody, I'm kind of the player's coach. I love to teach about God, but I love to do it and be a part of it, right? I love to be in action with the youth and doing that stuff, and with the kids, and being a part of it with them and living it out with them and through them. And so that's why I say that. And so it's crazy that we get so hung up on what we feel are our flaws that we get stagnant and stop totally in motion of how we're living out our life, and because we're trying to live up to some expectation, right? It's the parents tell you got to be a doctor, and you're not wired to be a doctor. Maybe you're wired to be an electrician or a plumber or a lawyer. Oh, right? Maybe you're wired that way, but your parents are putting the stress on you to do these things. Maybe if you sat down and said, Mom, Dad, science and stuff like that, especially stuff that's got to do with the body, really grosses me. I'm not into it. But this is what I'm interested in. And this is where I see God leading me to be and to do. And when I kind of accepted who I was and who God made me to be, and how I can use my hyperactivity, right? Me sitting in front of a green screen, flailing and everything is perfect for youth. And I tell everybody at our church, listen, if you want me to teach adults, I love to teach adults. I love to get in front of them and do it, but I'm not the guy who's going to be the guy that the adults on a regular basis are going, yeah, I want him to be our full-time pastor. But if I walk into a youth room, it's different. I understand how the youth are thinking and what they're thinking. God has wired me that way. And so I also say that about our lead pastor. I love our lead pastor. He's a great guy. But he is definitely wired for our adults and how he preaches. And I don't think it would carry over very long with the youth. I think they would appreciate and love him to come in every so often and preach, but not on a regular. We have come to learn that God has made us all individually. We all have our perfectness that God sees. But because sin entered the world, we have our flaws. We have our ADHDs. We have our whatever it is that you may think is holding you back. I say embrace it. Just hang on to it. Hold it. Use it. If you can use what God has given you, I promise you, you will glorify his kingdom forever. So guys, I know this is kind of just blurting out stuff to you, kind of fast-paced, rapid fire. But guys, I want you to know and understand God loves you more than you'll ever understand, more than you'll ever know. And I hope you take the opportunity to embrace him, but I also hope you take the time to embrace who you are, because that's who God made you to be. So have a great one. We'll talk to you next time. I'll be back in front of the youth. See you next time. Have a good one. Bye, guys.